Water is suddenly not a problem in rural Australia. Now there's almost too much of it. Heavy rain has raised the spirits of people along the Murray River, especially downstream here in SA.
It's great to see a bit of water back in the river.
More tourists come down when they know they can sail. More people from Adelaide who have yachts and stuff.
Boats will be able to get down to the Coorong, so a lot of recreational fishing and things like that will start to happen again, which is all good for the town and good for the public as well.
But what about the part of the Murray that's been suffering the most? After years of drought, has all of this rain been enough to make an impact on the mouth of the Murray?
Well, the mouth of the Murray still needs to be dredged because we don't have the flush coming through.
Diane Bell is an anthropologist that lives on Lake Alexandrina, where the Murray goes before it heads out into the ocean. She argues that we need to stop restricting the river's natural flow.
So for this fantastic flood that we're having at the moment, to do the work that floods do in Australia, as the land of drought and flooding rains, where we rely on those floods to flush through the system periodically, it can't get through to do that full work because of the interventions that have been put in.
The debate over the Murray rages on. Environmentalists want to let water run through the Murray to keep it healthy, but irrigators need water to grow crops and maintain their livelihoods. Down here in South Australia, the worlds collide. Often, farmers agree with the environmentalists.
If you have a cup of water up here and start tipping it out, and you've got everything blocking it before, it's not going to reach the bottom of the ground, is it? So you've got to stop it up the top first.
That's because in SA, we all agree that what the other states do to the river upstream has a big impact on us.
We're at the mercy of the other states, and the other states are more populous than us, so if it were on a popular vote or a referendum, we would probably lose because the upriver states could vote us out. The argument that South Australia has, which is increasingly gaining traction, is that rivers die from the bottom up.
Now, the states have given up their power to an independent body, the Murray-Darling Basin Authority, and it is expected the authority will recommend further cuts to primary producers. But after years of hardship, many farmers are being forced to leave their land.
They've had the stress of the drought, they've got the stress of the over-allocations, and now they've got the stress of what's going to happen when the Murray-Darling Basin Plan says you've got to give back a certain amount. You can't keep taking that amount of water.
With so much to lose on either side, the management of the Murray would have made a fierce election issue. But the Murray-Darling Basin Authority refused to release its report when it was due because of the election. If the authority is already compromising the river's welfare for the sake of politicians, is it really an independent body?
The draft plan was supposed to be available in July, August this year, and it was delayed when the election was called in August on the basis that if it was put out there then, it would become a political football. But whenever it goes out there, it's going to be a political football. I think that the independence of the authority, in a sense, was compromised by them not putting the plan out there. I understand why they didn't, but I think we should be trusted as a nation to be able to have those conversations.
Henry Jones disagrees. He's an activist and local fisherman. He's lived in this house near the mouth of the Murray for over 50 years. Do you think it should have been released for the election?
No, definitely not. I'm on the BCC, which is the committee that advises the board. There was definitely a differing of opinion within our committee. Some said it should have been released, and I think they were mainly irrigators, and others said that, look, if we release it now, some politicians will use it as vote catchers and it'll become just a political plaything.
Just which politicians would consider using the report for their personal gain?
Well, there was one politician in particular that I'm not going to name, but he stood out in front of everybody and said that if the plan is not what I think it should be, then he'll just get it changed. Well, I think that was wrong.
Henry is referring to the Coalition's water spokesperson, Barnaby Joyce. In August, Barnaby told the Australian newspaper that he would only accept what he thought to be a good plan. Labor, on the other hand, has indicated they plan to accept the report's recommendations. But not everyone in the Coalition agrees with Barnaby.
When it comes out, our commitment is to ensure that it is well debated, well discussed, community is consulted, but that its recommendations are carried out. Because what we must do is finish the great task of work that we began with John Howard as Prime Minister in 2007.
So does the transient nature of politics mean our river will never get the long-term plan it deserves?
Everybody, without any objections, put up their hand and said, this is what we want to do. We want to make the Murray-Darling Basin sustainable, and this is the way we should go. And if you're going to just change it later on, then, it's never going to be sustainable. It will never be sustainable. If that's what you're going to do, change the rules.